Okay, so my name is Austin. I'm going to be talking about the networking fair that's coming up here on the 22nd. So before we jump in, a little bit about me. I work for Legal Shield as a software engineer. I actually use Angular every day, so thanks, Alex, for giving it a good demo. I appreciate that. I love it. I love using it every day. It works great for our needs. I'm 100% self-taught, and actually got my first development job, this job I'm in right now, at the last networking fair we had, the meet and greet. I think it was in November of 2018, somewhere around there. But this particular event, big thanks to Kimberly Collins, the organizer, and then Chris Say and Alex Aon, our co-organizers. If they didn't put in the work to do it, then we wouldn't have these opportunities to show up and talk to employers. So big shout out to them. Also, I'd like to shout out to our financial supporters, so Rural Sourcing, Clever, American Fidelity, Deep Fork, PCI, Life Church. They all provided some sum of money to support this event. Project 3810 donated the space, and big shout out to them because they continue to provide us space for our various events for free, and that's huge. And then Techlahoma for investing in the tech community here in Oklahoma. So if you haven't already, make sure you RSVP on Meetup. That's going to ensure that we know how many people are coming and we can plan accordingly. To keep up with events in general, or this event in general, you can check out the website. Kimberly posted it earlier, but here it is again. Thanks again to Alex for putting this together. It is an Angular app. And the event is going to be from 5:30 to 7:30. It's come and go as you please, although I do suggest that you try to show up early. It takes a lot longer than you think to make your rounds around all the tables and talk to everybody. It is not in Tulsa. It is on Tulsa Avenue in Oklahoma City, but it's not in Tulsa. Just want to make that clear. All right, so let's get into the tips. First one, dress appropriately. This one calls for business casual. I know that can be kind of a nebulous term, so I just Googled it. And for men, that typically means slacks, a collared shirt, tucked in, leather belt, leather shoes, an optional tie. For women, that means slacks, blouse, button-up shirt, or professional dress. If you're still confused about it, they have great pictures, tutorials online about how to dress cheap. Yeah, lots of tips there. Bring your resume. Your resume should reflect yourself accurately. Most people have a tendency to underrepresent themselves, so make sure that you're honest with yourself about the skills that you have and that can offer a company. Have it reviewed. There's no excuse for typos, and if you pass it around to a few different hands, they might notice something like, hey, did you ever think about including this? So have it reviewed. And always bring more copies than you need. Paper's cheap, it's recyclable, and it's really awkward when you walk up to a table and chat with somebody and they ask for your resume and you're like, ooh, I don't have it with me. So just bring a bunch of copies. Be ready to talk. Do your research ahead of time. On a previous slide, I just listed off like 8 sponsors. Pretty good chance they're going to be there since they paid money for it. That's a great opportunity to kind of get an in. So you can look up what kind of technology do they use, where are they located, what types of jobs are open already. So when you go around to these tables, you can be like, hey, you know, I really like the mission of your company or something like that. It's a great way to open up a conversation and show that you care and set yourself apart from everybody else. You should be rehearsing answering questions out loud until it comes out smooth. Just off the top of my head, without thinking about it too much, there's questions you're going to be asked. Tell me about yourself. Where do you currently work? What type of technology stacks are you familiar with? What skills do you have that you can offer my company? When someone asks you these, you should already have an answer in your head and be able to deliver it. So it's not necessarily a sales pitch, but you should be expecting these and be prepared when they come at you. You should also have questions prepared for them. It makes you look intelligent. It makes you look interested. If you can show up and be like, hey, what kind of technology stack do you use? What's your work environment like? Do most employees work from home? Do they work in the office? Questions like that, not only to impress them, but also to kind of get a feel of what they look like. So if you get multiple people reaching out for interviews, you can kind of coordinate there for your priority. And be your own ambassador. If you're anything like me and you're not a narcissist, you typically undersell yourself. So I think a good rule of thumb is imagine your friend was coming with you and it was your job to introduce your friend to all the employers. Most of us probably wouldn't lie about our friends, but we definitely talk them up and mention their good points and their good qualities. So when you're talking about yourself, try to talk about yourself like you talk about your best friend. Talk to every table, period. After the last meet and greet, I talked to multiple people that said, oh, I stopped at a couple of them, but I didn't go to all of them because they were nervous or for some other reason. If you talk to 5 tables and there's 10 of them, you only have 5 chances for an interview at best, at best. If you talk to 10, there's 10 chances. Just do it. You can, even if it's busy, even if you're nervous, just walk up, say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm really interested in doing this. It looks like your company does this. I'd love to give you my resume. Great. Grab a business card and you're welcome to move on, but talk to every table. It's your job to start the conversations. I think after the last meet and greet, somebody had the comment that, well, nobody came up and talked to me. They're the ones with the table. They're standing behind the table. They're making themselves available to you. But you have to show that initiative and show that you're interested and go talk to them. So go shake some hands. And along that line, have a solid handshake. I think sometimes people think of it as some type of like arbitrary cultural habit, but the truth is that whether it's consciously or subconsciously, the minute you shake somebody's hands, they've already made an assumption about you. So practice it if you haven't already. I can't tell you how many times I get like weird vibes when I get like a really gross handshake. So when you show up, like give them a good one. I heard multiple people, employers that I knew personally saying like, oh man, this guy had the best handshake, or like this person like destroyed my knuckles or something like that. So follow up. If you get a business card, send that person an email. The next day, a couple days later, that is a great foot in the door. If you think about it, there's going to be maybe, I don't know, I think last time I checked online, there's like 45 people saying they're coming. It's probably going to be more than that. What's going to make you stand out? They have a stack of resumes. Maybe you were here at 5:30. They've talked to 50 people after you. What's going to put you back in their head? Getting an email. Maybe your email has your face on it. Mine has my profile picture. So that's another little key. But send them an email. And I actually wrote a template. You're all welcome to use this. I just posted it online. It's short and sweet, and this is exactly what I would send an employer. Mr. or Mrs. Benjamin, you and I met at Techlahoma's networking event on April 22nd at Project 3810. I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I think that I would be a great fit for your company as a software engineer and would love to have another opportunity to speak with you and your team. Do you have time to meet within the next 2 weeks? With gratitude, Austin Keeton. And so I did very specific things. I had a respectful introduction. I mentioned the date and the location, because if it's been 2 or 3 days since the event, you're sending out the email, maybe they had another networking event that they went to. Jog their memory a little bit. I also mentioned a specific position. Say the CEO or somebody high up comes to the networking event. They may not be the one that meets you or interviews you, so you need to let them know what position you're looking for so they know who to give your application to. Are you interested in working on their business team, their marketing team, their technology team? If you say software engineer, they're probably not going to pass it off to their marketing team. So mention that. Lastly, you'll notice I said specifically meet within the next 2 weeks. That doesn't put all the burden on them. It's not like, well, I'd love to chat with you. If you have time, let me know when you can meet. It's like, I'm interested in meeting with you soon. I have time available in the next 2 weeks. Let's find a time to meet. It's kind of like extending your hand for a handshake first. It kind of invites them and lets them know that they're interested in getting to know them. And then lastly, sign off with your name. So my last tip is to prepare. We talked about a lot of things. Let's just recap. You have 8 days to be on your A game. There are no excuses for showing up unprepared. 8 days. Even if you spend a half an hour a day getting ready, that's 4 hours of preparation. Prepare your outfit. You don't have to go buy one. You have friends, you can wear something that you already have. Just make sure it's ironed, it's clean. Update your resume. If you haven't, blow the dust off of it a little bit, polish it up, have a few friends review it, get those spelling errors out of there. A great place to do it is if you're on Slack, you can be like, hey, look, I'm interested in a developer position. Can somebody that's a developer look at my resume? Like maybe they can help you polish that up. Do your research. Check out the companies. For the last meet and greet, I had a list on my phone of all the companies and little notes about them. So in between tables, I'd be walking around and I'd sneak on my phone and be like, okay, well, I'm getting ready to go talk to Legal Shield, my current company. Oh yeah, they use Rails, and the guy's name is Danny Burrows. Is that him? Yep, that's Danny. Okay, hey Danny, how you doing? So it just makes you look so much more prepared if you've done your research and you can just store it with you. Say there's 8 companies. I can't memorize that. We have these here. Practice answering questions. Before I came and did this, I did it 6 times. This is technically my 7th time working through this interview or this presentation. Trust me, it's going a lot smoother than it did the first time, and I can guarantee you that's going to be the case if you're under pressure talking to somebody that might be your employer. So practice that. Have your questions ready, and practice your handshake. And if that happens, if you get all those ready, then you have no excuses, and no matter what happens there, you can leave knowing that you prepared as best as you could. Bottom line, you can leave without regrets. So those are my tips. It worked for me. I got a job at the last networking event. I don't think it would have happened as quickly if I hadn't gotten that foot in the door, right? Like maybe my resume isn't as good as somebody that's already working a tech job, but the difference between me and him was that I shook the hand of my employer, handed him my resume, and then afterwards sent him an email saying, hey, I had a great time talking to you. When can I talk to you again? That's what made the difference. So if you have any more questions for me, let's ask them now. But if you have anything else later on that you think of, you can look me up on Slack. There's my handle there, as well as Gmail and my GitHub. So questions, anybody? Nobody? All right, well, I'll see you guys at the event.